I always enjoyed watching the repertoire of reoccurring actors that Nolan likes to employ, but in Dunkirk he actually uses some new actors, including veteran actors that he's just never used before, like Sir Kenneth Branagh. I'm just glad that Nolan took from Branagh's amazing acting repertoire and not his recent trailer repertoire.
My name is Hercule Poirot, and I am probably the greatest detective in the world.
I mean, can you imagine if they used that song in the Dunkirk trailer?
You can practically see it from here. What? Home.
Damn it, that song is so infectious. Okay, wait, no, I know I can do better, hang on.
You can practically see it from here. What? Home.
It's just another manic Monday.
Nailed it on the first try. How do I even do that? Of course, that was just a stupid joke, and I mean no disrespect to the men who died at Dunkirk. I only mean disrespect to the person who thought Imagine Dragons was a good idea for that trailer. Speaking of filmmaking decisions I can't really get behind, my favorite director, Christopher Nolan, is making a film within my least favorite genre. A war film. I understand this is just a personal preference, as there are many people out there who probably really love war films. In fact, there are some out there who probably think it's their favorite genre. But there's something about a war film that I just don't find enjoyable. They're not my particular favorite type of escape. I do understand, however, that a lot of these are important stories to tell. Plus, how do you argue with classics like The Dirty Dozen or The Great Escape? But if I'm to be really honest, my preferred war movies are of the star variety. Because really, it comes down to, I don't like to be reminded of how truly awful human beings have been to one another. And wouldn't you know it, Dunkirk was unfortunately everything I feared it would be in terms of a war film. It was bleak, extremely realistic in that way, but very bleak, as in a soldier wading into a channel to end it all kind of bleak. So why in the god of cinema's name would you want to watch this? Well, Nolan being a god of cinema himself should be pretty much a good enough reason. Two specific reasons come from an aspect we often overlook in Nolan's work. We know him to be a very intricately detailed director who can fuse both entertainment and subtext, but sometimes we forget that he's also the writer of most of his films. We often forget that Nolan's evolved in the film since its very inception. I didn't want to do that. What this means is Nolan can shape the narrative before he even picks up a camera, and I'm sure we're all aware that he doesn't really like to tell a story in the straightforward narrative three-act manner that most people do. Whether it's the backwards and forwards overlapping story of Memento, or the story within a story within a story of... Nolan once again proves that he can take what would ordinarily be a typical, straightforward, three-act narrative and make it interesting, just by editing it in an interesting way. And it's about a third of the way through Dunkirk that you realize that these three subplots, these overlapping stories, are in fact overlapping chronologically. They're on three different temporal wavelengths. I read a complaint online, because what else do you do online, that said that somebody thought Nolan was just showing off, that he was taking an otherwise straightforward narrative and convoluting it. And I call that person an idiot. See, to me, that's giving the audience something that they never really receive in the summer movie season, and that is credit! Yes, credit. Because you have to ask the question, why tell a story in a straightforward manner when you could make it interesting? It's not convoluted, it's intelligent. And it was actually the most interesting aspect of the film for me, which also makes it the for the win. The second interesting aspect that I found about the writing was that those evil Germans, those villains that almost lend themselves to being cinematic, the Nazis, were completely faceless in this film. Not literally, of course, they're not like No-Face and Dick Tracy, but the fact is you never see them. You never see the Nazi infantry, even though they may only be inches away. You never see the U-boat sailors or the fighter pilots. It was a very specific and, again, interesting choice that Nolan made, and I felt that it actually raised the tension even further. And tension has to be the key word that you associate with Dunkirk. There is barely a moment within this film that you don't feel that the stakes are very real, and that the consequences of any action could be deadly. To escalate the tension even further, the musical maestro Hans Zimmer knew exactly what strings to pull. Yeah, that pun was intentional on all levels, because that man can do more with a pocket watch and one violin string than most composers. And all of this put together, the minimalist music, the tension, the narrative, the faceless enemy, it gets you to focus on one thing, and that is the men on Dunkirk. The heroes, the fighters, the survivors, and the men who gave their lives. All performances in this film are very solid, and most of them understated. Now, this is something that I've never really addressed when it comes to a Nolan film, nor have I really thought about it that much, and that is the fact that this director is quite good at directing ensembles, from veterans like Kenneth Branagh to whatever the hell Harry Styles is. And Tom Hardy really adding to his repertoire. Hardy in the last Nolan film.
You think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the darkness.
Hardy in this Nolan film.
Well, just keep an eye on it. We have to get back in about 5 minutes, so we're not completely wrap it up.
Hardy's Farrier really embodied the heroism that was much needed in the story for a couple reasons. Not only because it's a bleak story that needed a little light and a little hope, but because, once again, we have to remember these true life heroes. And don't forget, never mess with Tom Hardy, because not only can he survive running out of fuel in an airplane, he can glide for several more hours, kill several more Nazis, and land safely. When we're talking about safety, you better believe it's a safe bet that Nolan once again creates a deftly intelligent and delicately crafted film. I wasn't really sure what was going to win over in this case, my distaste for the war genre or my respect for this man's trade. Well, Dunkirk isn't earn it, so I'll let you be the judge. Poll question, what is your favorite story of heroism? As always, leave your answers in the comments section below. But until next time, school's out. Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.